follow Jerry with her speech, because the question to start out my presentation on how to entitle and decide on the scope of your speech is the question that every single one of us has ever had, whether you're in Toastmasters or not. We've all had situations where someone asked us to say something or to get up and write something. And the question that was in our mind was, what am I going to talk about? I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Now Jerry just gave us her first 10 speeches and the things that she talked about. What happens is we start thinking, if I talk about this, this person won't like it, and that person won't like it, and maybe it's not long enough, and I'm not sure if this is appropriate. So what I've done is I've created a small list to help you be on target with the very first step that you need to do when you're developing a presentation. This could be anything. It could be something that you need to present at work. It could be something that you're at church and someone has asked you to get up and give a little speech. You have to decide what it is you're talking on. And if you look at the form of target, T-A-R-G-E-T, go ahead on this front side, go ahead and jot down some notes on it, and then we're going to do an exercise to help you to decide what you may want to speak on. When people come to Toastmasters, often they'll take a look at the manual. First thing we do is we do the 10 speeches out of the Confident Communicator, and each one has a different purpose. And people go, do I have to do it on something certain? Do I have to choose a topic that's in the book? And as you can see, you could talk about snake handling. You could talk about any of the other things that Jerry talked about. But the important thing would be the T in target, which is to trust your gut. Pick something that you're fascinated by. Pick something that you really love, or something you know nothing about, but you've always wanted to, like snake handling. We don't ask her questions when she does her speeches. We just enjoy them. So listen to your gut. What is going to be interesting for you? Because when you have to ask yourself, what am I going to talk about, realize you're going to live with that topic for a long time. Especially when it's your first speech. Not everyone does what Jerry does, but it's going to take hours to craft it and to practice it and rehearse it, and your family's going to have to live with it as you go through rehearsing and practicing with them, and then you finally get up and you give it. So make sure it's something that you're really going to enjoy, or it's something that you would need to do anyway. Maybe it's a topic that has to do with your work, or a project that you know you're going to be doing for your church. The wonderful thing about Toastmasters is you gain all of these skills. Everything we do here teaches us a new skill. It should never be a burden. This is something that you're choosing to do to add on new skills. We're skill collectors here. We're all skill collectors. We collect the things that will help to make us more valuable, either in our community or in our job. And as you do that, you're going to have certain topics that it would be very helpful for you to learn. So do your speech on that. So the first is T, trust your gut. The second is A. Is it appropriate? Is it appropriate for the particular manual speech that you're doing? Perhaps your speech is on using props. Might not be a good topic to talk about your great aunt's funeral. Okay? Or if you're using a lot of physical movement, you may not want to describe the growing conditions of mushrooms. I don't know. Just think about what your purpose of the speech is and apply your topic choice to that. And also, is it appropriate for your audience? When you're in a Toastmasters group, the best part about it is this is a safe place to take risks. I use Toastmasters. I'm a professional speaker. I speak all the time. This is a safe place where I can throw out some really new stuff. And it's not in front of a paying client. And if you have a job, it's not in front of your employer. It's not in front of the board of directors. You get a chance to try out a totally new technique here in front of people who will help you to make it better. So first of all, you know that it's something you need or that you're going to enjoy. And you know that it's appropriate for your audience. Also, if it's going to be a very technical presentation, you'll need to word it in a way that it can reach the level of knowledge of the people in your audience. So you know that it's appropriate. The R would be, is it recyclable? We're all into recycling. I don't do any speech for Toastmasters that I can't use somewhere else. Can you use it with your church, with your youth group? Can you turn it into a blog entry? Can you take this video that Sue makes and post it on YouTube? How can you use this speech to move you ahead in your community or in your job? How can you make it recyclable? And if you can't think of something, ask the other people in the group and they'll help you with it. G. This is the hard one. Get real. Get real about how much time it's going to take you to prepare. If it's 3 to 5 minutes, if it's your icebreaker, it'll take you a certain amount of time. That will give you a little practice to know how long you take when you're putting together a presentation. If it's 10 to 15 minutes, be realistic. Is the topic that you're choosing something that you can actually prepare for in the 1 week or 2 weeks preparation time that you have? Nothing is worse than having it be Tuesday morning and you barely started. Everybody's going like this. Or you're sitting out in the parking lot. Not that we've ever done that. You have 5 to 7 minutes, because if you do a good job and you proportion out your time so that you are ready, there are 2 winners. There's you, because you've learned from doing that particular speech. Each speech teaches you something. And the group is going to be a winner because they're going to get a great speech. If you don't, there are 2 losers. There's the group. They heard something that was okay, but not what it could have been. And you're the big loser. You invested the time, and you didn't get the most out of that speaking opportunity that you could. We all fight for speaking opportunities here at Toastmasters. Sometimes we have people lined up because we want to get up here and practice. And there are a lot of people who really want to have that opportunity. The E, enjoy the process. Enjoy doing the research for your speech. Enjoy the writing of it. Enjoy the practicing of it. If you're not enjoying it, after a day or 2, you've got the wrong topic. That's why you want to pay attention early in the process. Change it. Tuck that topic in the research away for another time. And use something else that's closer to your heart that you really can get excited about, because we want to feel your excitement when you're up there. And the last one is T. What's your available time? That's going to help you determine, the scope of your project. If you have 5 to 7 minutes, you might not want to try and explain the concept of time. I did that last week. You may need a half hour, an hour for some of your topics. You may have to give a brief introduction to something instead of going in depth. Or you may choose to take one tiny bit, a little sliver of your big topic, and really go into depth in it. So pay attention to how much time you have. Now I'd like you to turn over your page and just take a moment. Start with the T. Here's a chance to start your brainstorming. Trust your gut. Write down, just off the top of your head, 3 topics that you love. It might be underwater basket weaving. Anything. Nobody's reading your paper but you. Write down 3 things that you think are fascinating or that you would love to find out about. Now just very quickly, mentally go over those 3 and think about, what are your goals? Think about the next speeches that you may be doing. Might be vocal variety, might be physical movement, might be using props. Think about the speeches you have coming up. Some of them in the more advanced, maybe using television interviews, radio interviews. What would be appropriate? Which of those 3 would be appropriate for the speeches that you have coming up? Take a second, make just a little note next to them. This can be your springboard to getting going on your next one. All right, recycling. Just a quick jot. How could you use this speech again? You've done all that work. You might as well use it 2 or 3 different times. Professional speakers don't do any speech that they can't use 5 or 6 other ways. They may give that same speech 100 times, but they'll also use it in newsletters, blogs, videos. Think of how you could use it. And I'm running you through this very quickly because I'm on the yellow card already. but you can follow up and do this later. And I would recommend going through this process every time you're starting on a speech. Get real about your preparation time. If you're a person who takes a week to get a speech ready, take that into consideration. Start with simpler ones, move into more complicated topics. You're going to figure out whether you enjoy the process or not later, and consider the time that you have available on your speech to make it work. So when you're in that moment, you've signed on the roster, you're going to do a speech, and as soon as you pass it on to the next person, you're going, what am I going to talk about? Now you can make sure that you're on target.